In the previous video, we talked about, or we have seen how we can use conditional expression or conditional statement like if, which is very basic conditional check. So if something happens, then do this. If something does not happen, then do that. But let's say I want to execute a certain block of code till a certain point. How can you do that? We cannot use if statement there. So that's where for loops or loops come into picture. And the first loop that I'm going to talk about is for, which is a for statement. And it is used to keep executing a block of code till the point that is mentioned in the statement itself. So what do I mean by that? So let's say I want to execute this hi these many times. So hi time format I. Now let's say I keep on executing this. This is the second time, third time, maybe fourth time, fifth time. But how many times? How many times do I have to print? So if I do not keep any check, and if I make this particular section of code running infinitely, obviously it's not a code, it's a bug. And also it will take a lot of resources. So to mention how many times I want to execute a section of code block is where for loop is used. The syntax is very simple. For I in maybe an array and then print I. So in this case what would happen is that at every loop I would get itself assigned the values in the array. So for the first time it will assign the value 1, for the second time it will assign value 2, third time it will assign value 3, so on and so forth till the time 8 is reached. So if 8 is reached, it will go out of the loop and the loop would be broken. Now I know that this code block, which is print I, would be executed only 8 times. Similarly, I can mention a range also for I in range 1 to 8 and then print I. There are a lot of other ways that I can use for statement. One of the ways I told you is printing all the items in a list or a tuple or in a dictionary or in a set. So there also I used this for statement. Then maybe for I in a tuple variable and print all the elements one after the other in a dictionary variable and in a list variable. So you can use for statements for these. Again, these are basic operations using for. There are some advanced usages also. We'll talk about some advanced usages when I discuss the files part of Python. As usual, let's do some hands-on. So this is a list variable, and what I have done here is I have assigned 6 elements to this list, var underscore list. It has only 6 elements, right? Now what will I do? For maybe x in var underscore list, and then I'll print current value is x. Now why x? Because every time what would happen is x would assign itself the value of the elements in the list. So first time it will assign 10 to itself, second time it would assign a to itself, third time 20, and so on and so forth. So now if I execute this, I should be able to see this line 6 times, and each time the value would be 10, then A, then 20, then B, then 30, then C. So all these 6 values would be seen. Now if I execute, as you can see, the current value is shown as 10A, 20B, 30C. So it has executed. I can put some if condition also. So after this, let's say if x equal to maybe B, then what should I do? I should break. Now what will happen in this case? The loop would break, it would come out. Now it should not show beyond 10A and 20. Now let me execute this. So let's say 10A, 20B, sorry, it should execute, it should show B also because B is getting printed first. Now what I'm trying to say here is that I can have other conditions also. So it's not that I'll have to use only the for statement. I cannot use anything else. I can use other logics also. I can use if here, definitely print, and other functions that I want. And break is to break out of the loop. So what am I saying here is if x equal to b, then break out of the loop. Just come out of the loop completely. Do not execute the remaining things, which is 30 and c. Now similarly, let's say I have a var and I have similar values in the set also. So what I can do here is run the same thing, but instead of var list, type var set, and if remove this if logic, I'll comment this one out. So now again it should print the exact same value. Why am I seeing this in arbitrary order? Because that's how set is, it is unordered, and every time you execute the order might change. As you can see, the first, now it is C, next time it is B, then again C, then again A. So you cannot guarantee the order in set. So that's how set is. Similarly, I can have for dictionary also. It would be true for tuple as well, but let me try with dictionary, and here I'll mention order ID equal to this, then maybe order price. So order ID, then order price, then order description, and then order quantity. So now what will I do? I'll run the same thing and let's see what it prints. And it should be not var set, but it would be var dictionary. Okay, let me execute this and it should show me only the keys. So current value is order ID, order price, order description, and order quantity. So it is showing the keys of the elements, not the values. Now how do I get the value? You know how to get the value of a dictionary, right? So you mention the variable and then in square bracket mention the key, so which is this one. So you can do the same here also. Let me type var dict, which is the actual variable, which is the dictionary variable, and then the key, and key is actually x, because we know that that key is x as the keys have been printed here. So now I should be able to print both the key and its value. And if I execute this, and as you can see, order ID is this, order price is this. So this is how for loop can be used for various data types for a particular range also. And we'll be using this for loop in our file handling section also. So how for loop is helpful in file handling. In for loop, we have seen that the code block gets executed up till a certain point, and that point is mentioned by us in the for loop itself. So we can mention an array, we can mention a condition, something like that. But in while loop, it's a little different. What happens in while loop is that the code block gets executed until a certain condition is met. If the condition does not meet, that execution will stop. So something like this. So it's while loop keeps executing a block of code till that particular condition is met. The moment that condition does not meet, it will break away from that loop. So let's say this is again the same block of code that I want to execute, but how many times do I want to execute this? That depends on this particular condition, that execute this print statement till the time I is less than 10 or till I is equal to 9. And then we can keep on incrementing I also. So what happens here, this is the code representation of this particular block. When I equal to 1, while I is less than 10, keep on executing this particular statement. And here I'm incrementing I, so I equal to I plus 1. In the first execution I would be 2, then 3, until 9 it will get executed. Now let's say I mention I is I minus 1, which is also possible because I is an integer or it will become a float. Now what would happen in that case? I would never become 9 because I'm mentioning I equal to I minus 1. So in that case, this particular code block, the print statement, will keep on executing till infinity or till we stop the execution of the code. So obviously this becomes a infinite loop if we mention I equal to I minus 1. Now every time it will go ahead and check this condition. If the condition is met, then it will execute this block of code. If the condition is not met, then the execution will stop. So that's how while is. So while loop can be a little dangerous if you do not handle the condition properly. So as I said, in this case, if you mention I equal to I minus 1, that might create a problem, because this loop or this block of code will keep on executing forever. So every time it will come, first time I will be equal to 1, it's fine. Next time I will be equal to 0, which is less than 10. Then minus 1, which is less than 10. So it will keep on executing till the time I is less than 10. So that's why just changing the sign would make this code dangerous or buggy. If you are using while loop, you have to make sure that the condition is handled properly and there is a condition which breaks the loop, because if it runs continuously, then of course it will get into infinite loop and you'll have to debug the code. So always make a condition which will break the loop. Now what am I doing? I'm initializing order price to be 100 and I'm saying while order price is greater than 100, keep on executing this. Now if I run this code, it will break in the first attempt itself because order price is not greater than 100. So if I execute this, so there's no output because order price is actually equal to 100, which is not greater than 100. Now if I mention it as 200, it will keep on executing because every time the condition will meet, every time the order price would be greater than 100. So if I execute this, see the code is running continuously and the order value is getting printed. So this is very dangerous in while loop. Whereas I can stop the execution here in PyCharm, but in production it might create huge problems. So that's why you have to handle the condition properly. So here what am I saying is, so order price is equal to order price minus 20. So after 5 iterations or 6 iterations, the order price will be less than 100 and then this loop would break. So if I execute it now, it's executing only 5 times, 200, 180, 160, 140, 120. So the moment it goes to 100, which is not greater than 100, so this loop breaks. Now the reason the loop broke because I handled the condition using this order price statement. So here I assigned order price equal to order price minus 20. But in the previous case, there was no condition handling here. So you have to be very careful while using while loop, because it can create an infinite loop condition also, wherein a particular block of code will keep on executing forever if the condition is not handled properly. So whenever you write while loop, make sure the condition is handled properly. And just to reiterate, what happens is that this block of code will execute if this is true, if this condition is true. So first time the order price is 200, which is greater than 100, so it will get executed. Next time it will be 180, which is greater than 100, so this code will execute. Then 160, 140, every time it is becoming true, but the moment it becomes 100, 100 is not greater than 100 anymore. That means it's false, so the loop would break. We can also do something like this. I can mention if order price is equal to, let's say, 160, then break. This is also another condition that I can put inside the while loop just to break an infinite loop. If, let's say, for some reason it goes to an infinite loop, we can break it. So now here it will get executed only 3 times because the moment it is 160, it will break out of the loop. Typically, we'll have multiple conditions. So let's say if I keep the order price as 200 and I do not keep this. So again, you know that it will keep on executing infinite times. So order price equal to 160. Now if I execute, it will keep on executing till the time I stop the program in the IDE. Now I can add one more condition. Let's say I equal to 0 and I keep on increasing I equal to I plus 1, and I mention if I equal to maybe 70, then break, because I know no matter what, my execution should never be more than 70 times. So now what will happen after 70 executions, this particular loop will break because I have two conditions. One is in the while condition, which is basically the syntax of while loop. Then I have one more if condition wherein I am intentionally breaking the loop if it goes into an infinite loop condition. using a separate counter. So now it will not run continuously. It has run only 70 times and the loop has broken. Now of course I can print I also, and it should show 70 at the bottom. So I is 70. So after 70 it has come out. Because of this, the infinite loop condition was not incurred, as I have mentioned two different conditions to break out of the loop. So that's how you can handle while loop in a various different ways. You can use other conditional statement like if or for, something like that, to break out of the while loop also, so that it does not go into infinite loop condition. But as a whole, this is how we use while loop, and this is very important in various scenarios. We'll be using while loop many a times in your Python coding journey.